everyone, welcome back to the Car Analyst. Today we're looking at what people are calling the new next generation 2026-27 Range Rover LWB P400. And this is one of those SUVs that can completely fool you at first glance. Because if you only look at the shape, you might say, okay, it's just another expensive luxury SUV. But the second you dig into what Land Rover is actually doing here, you realize this thing is trying to be three cars at once. A flagship chauffeur SUV, a high-speed highway cruiser, and a real all-terrain machine. And that combination is exactly why the Range Rover still has this strange hold on wealthy buyers, celebrities, business owners, and people who could literally buy almost anything else. Now let's talk about what's official. In US spec, the current 2026 Range Rover gas model is rated at 395 horsepower, does 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, and has a quoted top speed of 150 miles per hour. So no, the P400 is not the wild V8 version, and it's not pretending to be. This is the smoother, more sensible powertrain in the lineup. And honestly, for a full-size luxury SUV, 395 horsepower is more than enough for the kind of buyer this vehicle is targeting. This is not about neck-snapping launches. This is about effortless power, quiet torque delivery, and that expensive feeling where the car never seems stressed, no matter how much body mass it's carrying. And here's where the long-wheelbase version becomes really interesting. Land Rover says the LWB 7-seat model is designed to carry up to 7 adults, and it specifically calls out semi-nylon heated leather seats, USB-C ports, and task lighting in the long wheelbase cabin. 4-zone climate control is also part of the official story, which matters because this car is clearly designed around comfort as much as image. So if you're buying this for family use, VIP transport, or simply because you want that big cabin feel every single day, the LWB body actually makes sense. It's not just about size for the sake of size. It's about presence outside and proper second and third row usability inside. But the real trick with the new generation Range Rover is that it hides a lot of very serious engineering under that clean design. Officially, the 2026 model gets all-wheel steering, and Land Rover says the long-wheel base version has a 37.10.7-foot turning circle, which is pretty impressive for something this large. It also gets electronic air suspension, dynamic response Pro, terrain response 2, adaptive dynamics, a twin-speed transfer box, torque vectoring by braking, and even adaptive off-road cruise control. That means this is not just a big luxury box for valet parking outside a 5-star hotel. Underneath, it still has proper Range Rover DNA. In my opinion, that's the thing that keeps the Range Rover special. A lot of rivals can do luxury. A lot can do speed. Very few can do luxury, status, and genuine terrain hardware in the same package. Now on technology and features, the P400 story is strong. But you do need to understand how Land Rover spreads the goodies across trims. Officially, even the Range Rover SE gets features like 4-zone climate control, 3D surround camera, adaptive cruise control with steering assist, blind spot assist, park assist, wireless device charging, heated steering wheel, configurable cabin lighting, perforated Windsor leather seats, and powered upper and lower tailgate functionality. On the broader 2026 Range Rover overview, Land Rover also highlights the 12-inch interactive driver display and an optional head-up display, step above the base grades, and that's where the higher-end luxury toys start showing up more aggressively, including 11.4-inch rear seat entertainment on Autobiography, cabin air purification pro, a front center console refrigerator compartment, semi and lane leather, clear sight rear-view mirror, and the more executive rear seat experience. So the big takeaway is this. The P400 SE gives you the core Range Rover experience, but the true ultra-luxury fantasy still lives a few trims above it. And that brings us to price, because this is where the conversation gets serious. On the official US specifications page, the gas long-wheelbase Range Rover SE is listed for $120,700. That means this thing sits well above several obvious rivals. A Mercedes-Benz GLS 450 starts at $90,250. BMW's X7 starts at $87,500 on BMW USA. Cadillac's 2026 Escalade ESV starts at $94,100. Even the Lexus LX starts at $108,450. So the Range Rover is not trying to win the value battle at all. It is charging a premium, and Land Rover knows exactly what it's doing. You're paying for the badge, the design restraint, the cabin atmosphere, the off-road credibility, and that unique blend of old money taste with modern tech. The question is not whether it's expensive, because it is. The question is whether it feels expensive in the right way to you. Now let's talk ownership cost, because six-figure luxury SUVs can become financial traps if you only shop by monthly payment. Land Rover's official U.S. warranty is 4 years or 50,000 miles, which is decent but not extraordinary for this class. For fuel economy, the P400 is generally quoted around 18 city and 24 highway in current U.S. testing and listings. If you do a rough U.S. estimate at 15,000 miles a year and use AAA's current national premium average of about 4.98 per gallon, you're looking at roughly $3,600 to $3,800 a year in fuel alone, depending on how and where you drive. Then add luxury SUV insurance, large wheel and tire replacement costs, higher service pricing once you're out of warranty, and the fact that options can push the transaction price way beyond the base sticker. So this is not an SUV you buy just because you can afford the payment. This is an SUV you buy when you're ready for the whole ownership ecosystem. So let's make the pros very clear. The first pro is design. The new generation Range Rover still looks clean, expensive, and instantly recognizable without trying too hard. Second, the ride and overall refinement philosophy are exactly what many luxury buyers want. Calm, isolated, and authoritative rather than sporty for the sake of being sporty. Third, it has real hardware underneath, from all-wheel steering to air suspension to terrain systems, which gives it authenticity many rivals simply don't have. Fourth, the LWB packaging makes this a far more convincing family or chauffeur SUV than the standard wheelbase model. And fifth, the feature set is strong enough that even the entry experience does not feel cheap. The cons are just as important. Number 1, the price is aggressive, especially when BMW, Mercedes, Cadillac and Lexus all undercut it. Number 2, Land Rover still uses the trim ladder strategically, which means some of the most tempting luxury features sit above the P400 SE. Number 3, ownership costs are real, and fuel plus tires plus insurance will remind you very quickly that this is not a casual daily driver. Number 4, if your priority is maximum performance per dollar, the P400 is not the smartest buy in the segment. And number 5, if you're a value-focused buyer who mostly drives on-road and just wants 3 rows and premium comfort, some of the Range Rover magic may feel emotionally brilliant but financially irrational. Now my honest human opinion, this is one of those vehicles that makes more sense the less you try to reduce it to a spreadsheet. On paper, the X7 is easier to justify. The GLS is easier to recommend to conservative luxury buyers. The Escalade gives you more obvious size and drama for less money. And the Lexus LX has that reassuring durability image that some buyers will always trust more. But the Range Rover plays a different game. It's for the buyer who wants elegance instead of flash, capability without shouting about it, and a cabin that feels like a private lounge rather than a tech showroom. There is still something deeply special about the way a Range Rover makes luxury feel calm instead of busy. So, would I recommend buying it? My answer is yes, but only for a very specific buyer. Buy the 2026 era Range Rover LWB P400 if you want presence, comfort, all-weather and all-terrain confidence, serious road trip ability, and you care as much about the atmosphere of the cabin as the logo on the hood. Don't buy it if you want the best value in the segment, the best performance per dollar, or the cheapest long-term ownership story. And one more thing, if your driving pattern includes daily charging and short urban trips, I would also take a hard look at the plug-in hybrid version in the lineup, because Land Rover officially quotes up to 50 miles of EV range there, and for the right owner that could make the big Range Rover feel a lot smarter day to day. For me, the final verdict is simple. The new 2027 Range Rover LWB P400 is not the rational king of the segment. It's the emotional king for buyers who want luxury with quiet authority. It's expensive, it's indulgent, and it absolutely demands careful buying discipline. But when Range Rover gets the formula right, very few SUVs feel this complete. It can take the kids, carry executives, glide on the highway, handle bad roads, and still make the owner feel like they bought something with actual character. And in a market full of luxury SUVs that are starting to feel interchangeable, that alone still matters. If you enjoyed this review, subscribe to the Car Analyst, and tell me in the comments, would you take the Range Rover LWB P400, or would you save the money and go X7, GLS, LX, or Escalade instead?